what relevance has that story got to do with what we want to talk about this afternoon? Connecting the dots in a transforming landscape. And because I'm from MICA, you're members of the Press Club, and Wei Zhu is president of the Institute of Public Relations of Singapore, together with friends from these two establishments. I thought obviously I should say something that's relevant to the media landscape, maybe some remarks about the new media. And so the first really is that ours is a changing landscape, changing preferences, changing patterns of behavior, both by consumers as well as by advertisers. And I think it is quite a truism, quite obviously so, that we need to be mindful of some of these changes. I think none of us here are high enough on that tree that we can ignore the changes that's taking place around us. That's number one. The second is that if content is king, then credible content is obviously the ace of trumps. And credible content, in my view, helps to separate credible publications, credible media from what's happening around us. And credible content is something to be guarded jealously, and the controlled availability in various forms across various medium is something that needs to be thought through very, very carefully. What is our landscape like? I think if I look around the room, we have many people here who will be above 40 years old, and probably the minority below 40. And it's interesting, I think, that if you segmentize your target audience, the behaviors and the media consumption pattern of the different target audience segments is actually quite different. And this is borne out by some work that was done by Morgan Stanley Research House, and they got a teenager to write about the media habits of teenagers. And for those of us with children, I think we would be able to identify with what this teenager wrote. In brief, it is that his proposition is that teenagers are obviously consuming more media, but in entirely different ways, and almost certainly not prepared to pay for it. They are happy to chase content and music across various platforms and devices, but it is almost a badge of honor to be able to get this content for free. Print media, according to the teenager, is viewed as irrelevant. The younger set do not read newspapers, and few watch TV. I think if you couple this with what's happening, for example, in the US, in the UK, where large and small newspapers are facing falling circulations and declining advertisement revenues, it paints a rather grim picture. There is increased competition from online news sources and news aggregators, and for the first quarter of 2009, it was reported that in the United States, advertising revenue had fallen close to 30%, and the situation is mirrored in the United Kingdom. But what about the situation here in Singapore? Well, I think here in Singapore, the mainstream media continues to hold ground. It remains, I think, the dominant source of information, and if we refer to the Nielsen Media Index of 2008, 75% of those surveyed selected newspapers as their preferred source of news. And there are good reasons why this is so. One, I think primarily because they are competent and comprehensive. Secondly, because they are objective and professional. Unlike some foreign newspapers, I think the media here in Singapore has not gone for aggressive journalism. They have not gone for aggressive campaigning. They have instead taken the position that they will investigate thoroughly before they publish, and if there are good grounds for them to take a certain position which may be detrimental to the interests of establishment in institutions, they are prepared to do so. But they do so from a point of view of responsibility. But even in Singapore, I think, despite all that I've said so far, we are not spared from the behavioral patterns that we see in the young in other places. The majority of the individuals here in Singapore, based on the survey, spend at least 20 hours a week surfing the internet. And likewise, our media landscape is also changing. The established media, the mainstream media, is coming under some pressure from the new media. Example, the Wayang Party, Online Citizen, and other discussion fora. And the new media advantage, we know, is speed and immediacy, prepared to serve a niche segment, providing opportunities for everyone who wants to be one, to be a journalist or a broadcaster. And they would like to believe that they are representing what people want to say, to hear, to do, or want the establishments to do on their behalf.